Got it fixed December 21st, 2013. To the record in the Ridgewood News. Positioning on the bulletin board in the lobby and filing a notice the same with the municipal clerk. I'd like to remind members of the public, there are 3 fire exits in the chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. We're on the record both by video and audio. Any member of the public who wishes to speak or be heard or ask a question or make a statement, you'd only give us their name and address and we will hear them. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Coppola?
Here.
Councilwoman Bastide?
Here.
Councilman Jones?
Here.
Councilman Equifreda? Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mastrotola.
Present. Okay. We have a closed session meeting. It's going to be very short. It's on the back page of the work session agenda. There are 3 items that we need to discuss. The Open Public Meetings Act, some potential litigation, and a personnel matter. Could I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I need Mr. Costa for my...
Hello, is Dick Merman, can you go?
He's coming in.
All right, our first matter on the Borough Administrator's agenda is the release of escrow funds for the outstanding improvements at 620 Kinderkamak Road. That is Sanducci's Restaurant. Mr. Merman prepared a report to Alan.
Yes, Mayor, if I may, we also have Gary Gorski in the audience, who has provided the escrow funds and the maintenance bond for the various projects that are involved here. And we're here tonight to review the outstanding items that are needed to complete this project so that the escrow funds and the maintenance bond can be released. We have both Dick Merman and Rob Costa here, who both have some outstanding items on that list. And you can hear from Mr. Merman as to the report he rendered and some of the items. Mr. Costa, I believe, is familiar with the decorative lamp as well.
Right.
So I think you just need a sense of what's outstanding, and then perhaps we can make some decisions or determine how we might proceed so that we can complete the project and release the funds.
All right. Dick. Or Mr. Costa. What's outstanding?
Mayor, Council, good evening. The one item is obviously along the streetscape, which is the decorative lamp that's in the front.
One?
Okay. That was prior to the original approval.
Right.
I'm going to say a while ago, it's got to be at least 3 years, maybe more. We had meetings with Public Service who said that the conduit was not put in properly, they didn't inspect it. Alan asked me to go out to get 3 quotes from different contractors, which I did. I believe Zaccaro was the low bid at that point for maybe $3,000 or $3,500.
We tried to contact him after that, he just wouldn't respond. So while he
Right.
did respond to you and give us some quotes, there was no interest in moving forward.
Right, but it never went forward. But if the council says, take care of it, we'll take care of it. And I believe there's still money in escrow to do this.
And Mr. Gorski at one point had given us permission to use those funds to, cure the decorative light problem.
Right. Also, I think there was an accident out there. There might be some other stuff missing at that point. I don't know if that would be his issue or... And I know the trees, there was some shade trees that are gone. And in the front, partial collapse of the driveway in the front. I don't know if you noticed that.
Recently?
Yes. But that would...
That was taken care of.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that was taken care of, yeah.
But that would come under a maintenance bond.
Yeah, I'm saying that would, once it moves over from performance, it would go into a maintenance bond. And then as far as on-site, Mr. Merman handled all of that work, so I didn't look at as anything on-site.
All right, Dick.
We have two basic on-site issues that have been open. One that date back to the original punch list. One of them is the filters for the fryers. I wanted to see that they were basically greaseless type filters. And the other issue, which has been an issue from day one, which is more serious, was the original sanitary sewer line. As you may recall, we asked originally that sanitary line be videotaped and Mr. Costa review it and sign off on it. It's bounced back and forth. I never saw the video. I don't know.
No, I haven't.
I don't believe you did. No. So we have a non-existing video, and that's open. Now, as far as the filters are concerned, that Sanducci's has been operating, what, 3-4 years maybe? And I could probably waive that at this point because it doesn't apparently...
I don't see it in the residence.
Yeah, we haven't, I don't believe we've had any complaints, I don't smell anything.
That was when Kenny Rogers came to Fairlawn that time, to check it.
But the,
But
Remember that?
do they have a filter system?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The sanitary line, while it's operating, it seems to be operating satisfactorily, Mr. Costa should still have some way of reviewing that pipe to make sure that it's 100%, unless he wants to say something to the contrary.
Are they saying that there is one and you've never seen it, or you
No,
don't know if they've even
Well,
done
it's
it?
gotta be, I'm sure there's a sewer there, it's operating.
No, but this video, you're saying that you
Well-
said, I've never seen it.
They, as part of the approvals,
Right.
they required that line be TV'd.
Yeah.
And the video was never submitted. So
Was it actually done
It
now?
was never done.
Well, they claim, depends on who you listen to, okay? There's claims and counterclaims. Regardless of that, neither Mr. Costa nor myself actually saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's what counts.
What do we do in terms of grease for that? Was there a requirement for a new grease trap?
I don't know,
I
that would
don't
be,
remember.
I don't know.
Well,
It would make sense to TV the line now anyway to see what the
Well,
impact
You'll see if
is.
there's grease there,
Yeah.
basically. I mean, obviously, it's not that expensive.
no, it's not.
And
Put
it's
put a camera in, see it, and move on.
And there's a minor item that will pop out of the background that I provided. There are 2 handicap spots. One of the handicap signs has been knocked down, that should be reinstalled, which is minor. But nevertheless, it's important. And
We're talking about releasing escrow for inspections, not releasing a performance bond, or we're talking about both?
I'm
We
not
have a
sure.
maintenance bond, about $8,000, I think, and escrow, about the same amount.
Can I speak in terms of that, or should I speak? or-
No, as soon as we finish hearing from
Okay.
our experts, we'll give you the floor.
Okay.
So what do you think, we need about $5,000 between the light and the sewer?
Well, tomorrow, if the council says, get a contractor and get the light up, we'll go tomorrow and start that and get 3 quotes is what I'm gonna have to get again. It could be a little bit more than what it would have been, whatever, 3 years ago.
Right.
And then to TV inspect, I don't know, $500 might be on the high end. It's probably less than that.
Okay. That's
So
what
we were given these papers that says from 2011, 12, 13, with updates. Do you have something that's like more updated?
Yeah, the top sheet, December 29th, 2013.
Oh, 2013, okay. So there's nothing more on that list that has to get done besides...
it should have been done 3 years ago. That's what remains.
Yeah, the only thing that's on here says, streetscape light
Oh,
fixture.
it says specification sheet for the exhaust filter and the sanitary sewer video. It's all on the top page. in Mr. Miller's letter.
Yeah, that's a sign,
All right, so those are the three things, and based upon the fact that there's been, that they have a filter system, there's been no complaints from the neighbors,
Right.
you're willing to waive the
I can,
exhaust
at this
filter.
point, we could say, we can waive
We've
that.
got it down to the light post and TVing the sanitary sewer.
It's probably a light post, TV, sanitary sewer. I think the tree is missing in the front, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's gone. So those were
There
the,
was a tree existing in front of the old,
I think it's
gone now.
gone.
Tree and a handicap sign.
And a
Tree and a
Four
handicap
items,
sign,
four
okay.
items.
Now, he can elect to do the work himself,
Right?
but again, if, that's up to the council.
Okay.
At this stage, if the council says he hasn't performed, take care of it. Your wish is my command. Tomorrow morning, we'll get 3 quotes, give it to Alan, and we go to work.
All right, can we hear Mr. Gorski wanted to speak?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, I think these are 2 different applications. There's escrow money for Sanducci's from the 2010-11. That has nothing to do with my escrow. Mine was held back in 2005 when I did the construction of the building for the decorative lamp. The filter system and the video is a different application, different resolution.
Right.
That was offered to Sanducci's, which was under his responsibility. It didn't come under my escrow or my maintenance bond. He has a separate escrow that I think you're holding for that. And he couldn't be here tonight because he would have gone over that with you. That was, I think, back in 2010. Now, I know he did the video, Wickersheim did the work, and according to Tony DiMiglio, it was submitted, but that's something I wouldn't know. That wasn't, my application. But my maintenance bond and escrow was held back since 2004, and that was when I did the construction of the building. Sanducci's didn't move until 2010. So you're holding escrow from that application.
Do you know, or
So
can
there-
anybody answer the question as to which escrow would be responsible for the tree and the handicap sign?
That would be me. The tree, actually, there was an accident last summer, and somebody wiped out the tree, took it down.
All right.
So I had put the tree up with the Shade Tree Commission. So, I'm willing to put another tree up, that's fine.
All right, so there's a missing sign, a
Yes,
tree.
yes,
and
my
the
my
street
streetscape light.
Okay.
Now, the wiring and the mounting and all of that is done. So we're theoretically just waiting for a streetscape light and public service to come in and do whatever they have to do.
Waiting since 2000 and...
Yeah. I've tried to contact public service, I know Mr. Costa has, and just never was able to accomplish it.
I thought missing from that was an 8-foot grounding wire.
That's there, that is there
Oh,
now.
that is there?
Yes, it is,
Oh,
correct.
good. Okay.
Yep, that's there. Yeah, the wiring's ready, it's just a matter of mounting the light and having it hooked up.
Okay.
And,
Has an order been placed for?
Excuse me?
Has an order been placed for the lamp and pole?
I don't know.
Or,
I don't know.
is that something that would go through public service?
It would, but again, from my recollection, public service never did the inspection.
Right.
Because of that, they weren't going to put the light up. Now, maybe something's changed in 3 years, but the light still isn't there.
Right.
So I don't think anything has changed. You got to dig up the foundation base, redo it, put in the grounding rod. You're saying it's there, but maybe they don't know it's there because they never inspected it.
Okay.
And if the conduit isn't the correct conduit, they're not going to run wiring,
Right.
because in the event somebody gets hurt,
Okay.
obviously they're responsible.
Okay. But I know
That goes back to Mark Lish, who's no longer the gentleman in charge. So to try to unravel this could get interesting. That's why I think we went out for 3 quotes, had public service and meetings, Alan, in order to accomplish that.
Well, Mr. Gorski,
Yes.
I think what do you want us to do? You want us to have our engineer get the quotes and do the lights and take it from your...
Whichever the easiest,
escrow?
I think the easiest way to do it is fine with me.
Okay, well then, that's just, we'll,
'Cause I know there-
we'll
yeah.
move in that direction.
Okay, because I know there's a maintenance bond of $7,750 and escrow's around $8,300 for, I mean, I was wondering, could I get a reduction in that, or possibly, because it's almost $16,000.
We have to,
Everything is done.
yeah, we have to get the quotes first.
Get the quotes,
Yeah.
once everything is done.
Okay.
I mean, we should have 3 quotes.
That,
We'll send out letters tomorrow.
if we give the go-ahead tonight to our borough engineer, he can get the quotes, he can get this done in a short amount of time, probably, you know, if the weather breaks, I don't know, 90 days or something like that.
Right.
And then you could have whatever the balance is of your escrows returned.
Okay,
All right?
very good, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, what's going to happen with the remainder of the items?
Well, Mr. Gorski's going to take care of the tree and the sign,
Okay.
and we have to get Mr. Sanducci in here. Someone has to speak to Mr. DiMiglio about the TV and the,
Mr. Gorski is the landowner.
right,
The application before the planning board is made in the landowner's name.
okay.
So I think you must be talking to the right person, no?
Well, he said that there's a separate escrow for TVing the line.
There's still escrow money coming for that.
I can certainly call Mr. DiMiglio in the morning, and if we get into some sort of birds, then I guess it's one less restaurant that I could go to.
Is this something we can keep on the agenda?
I don't think we need, I think, if Mr. DiMiglio does not produce this tape, we authorize Rob to do it. That's it, simple as that.
Mr. Mayor, for your
Take it
information,
as escrow.
for the council's information, Sanducci's is operating, the last I knew, under a temporary CO. So you have some leverage there.
Okay, all right. All right, anything else? Thank you, Mr. Merman, good to see you again.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, let's,
I don't know, I'm asking.
can we make a motion to authorize our borough engineer to get the quotes to finish the rest of this punch list, and so that we can resolve the escrow issue?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
And that includes speaking with Mr. DiMiglio,
Mr.
and
DiMiglio.
if he does not produce the tape, then Mr. Costa can get a company in there too, to TV it.
TV the line. All right. All right,
Close
good.
it out.
Thank you.
Two 2014 budget review.
Thank you, Mayor. Police Chief Caridi will review your capital budget tonight. Yeah, you're done, Rob. Fire Chief Caridi, you came to our Saturday meeting, so we reviewed your capital at that time. Is that right?
I thought you wanted to do my operating budget tonight.
Yeah, we were.
That was the email that you had sent me.
Okay, we can give you the opportunity to talk about your operating budget if you need it, yeah.
You don't need me to give it.
No, we weren't reviewing anybody's operating budget, but, you know, if you feel there's a need to say a few words. Okay. I apologize for the miscommunication there.
Before we go, what's the difference from this year to last year, and then we know if there's any issues? Because don't even schedule to come back. I mean, if you can address the operating, is it the same as last year? Why have you come back again?
Yeah, I agree.
Two chief committees at the same place.
I noticed when you two were sitting there.
The only difference, good evening, everyone. The only difference really in my operating budget was the inclusion of $1,800 for our firehouse software program. That's a 5-year annual maintenance fee. When Chief Malvey and I asked for the firehouse software program, we were under the impression that it was a capital item, that they hand us the program and we're done. That is not the case. It's more like of a cloud-type program where they maintain it. We met with Alan, and Alan suggested that go into the operating budget. So that would be $1,800. And then the other increase I'm asking for is the line for the ladder truck maintenance. We went $2,000 over budget last year, so I'm asking for that to be raised from $8,000 to $10,000.
Now, is this specialty maintenance, like we talked about, or is it for what?
Right, it's the maintenance for the ladder truck, Councilman, that the
DPW does not do.
doesn't do. So in that line, it's my line number 184, it's $10,000, and that includes the preventive maintenance program yearly, annual testing of the aerial device, and also any repairs. Now this year, if you authorize $10 grand, we might only spend $7,000 of it. So last year, we went over the $8 grand because of some repairs that were needed in order to get that ladder truck certified by Underwriters Laboratory. So if you say, well, can we get by with $8 grand this year? Maybe. So, but the only open item there would be the $1,800 for that firehouse software program. Other than that, my budget is the same as last year.
All right, any questions? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. Mayor, we gave a handout, an updated capital list to the mayor and council tonight, so we have Police Chief Grady here to talk about his capital items, which appear down at the bottom of the page, right? And we'll go through those, and I have a couple of other topics related to the budget to talk about tonight.
Okay, Chief, you're up. We have, first item is the Tough Book.
Yeah, it's part of a continuing replacement program. It's been in effect for a number of years now. They're on a 5-year rotation for each of the line cars, and this provides the main control capabilities for all of the digital output for the vehicle, whether it's the in-car video system, the information database that ties into the various criminal databases through the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office or through the state police, and it also allows an interface with the police headquarters in terms of our in-house records management system.
Is this a patrol computer for one of the new vehicles, or to replace an existing one, or?
It replaces an existing one. Every 5 years, one Tough Book goes out of service and a new one comes in.
Okay. All right, any questions about this item?
Nope.
All right. We have next item, a vest.
Yeah, the protective, personal protective body armor. Again, it's a replacement program. We have a rotation set up with officers. They have 5 years of useful life for a vest before replacement. At that point in time, based on degradation of the ballistic material, the vests have to be replaced. So officers are on a rotation to have the vests rotated out of circulation. Now there's a attendant grant program with this where we receive monies from the state body armor grant, and we purchase our own vest in addition to that, and there's a state contract pricing for each of the vests that we do purchase.
Okay. Any questions on the vest? Next item, Chief.
We've got radio
replacement program. This has to do with the officers' portable radios. Beginning a number of years ago, we issued radios to each of the officers rather than having a set bank of radios that was checked in and out at each shift. This guaranteed the radios remained fully charged, and it also increased the radio's shelf life because rather than one piece of equipment that was left to be circulated through a number of officers. Each officer took responsibility for a given unit. They turned out to last a great deal longer as far as their useful life. And it also guaranteed that they were continually charged, especially for the 12-hour shift. Radios are all purchased under state contract, and this $2,800 allows an additional purchase of radios throughout the year as a replacement for radios that are no longer serviceable.
How many radios does this get us?
Well, in total, there's radios for each officer in the department. So you have 20. We have presently 22 radios there, plus 2 spares, 24, and then there are a number of other radios for other than standard patrol use for undercover, for detective personnel. So there's another
My question was, how
6 there.
How much does the $2,600?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your
How
question.
many radios does it buy us?
That'll probably get 2 radios.
2 radios?
Yeah.
That's under state contract?
Yes.
All right, any questions about the radios, 2 radios? All right, Chief, next item.
Traffic signs and cones.
This was an area that's been heavily depleted over the last year with a number of different sign replacement projects throughout town. We're at a very low point in our stock for signs that involve both traffic cones and different police barricades that we use throughout town. They're stored in a shed outside and put to use for everything from outside contractor details to emergency road closures during storms and other inclement weather. So this will help bring up the material that we would have available to us.
Ed?
Does this include those crosswalk stanchions? Or that you getting that money out of a different line item?
No, we purchased those out of what we had in that funding last year, so it would be inclusive in this, anything we had to do for replacement. We're out of stock on those presently.
Because a resident did ask me about the one that was, I guess, knocked down at Midland and Bogart.
Yeah.
Is there any intention of putting that one back?
Yeah, we are. We're just out of them right now, so that's part of what can be replenished with this. They run about $269 a piece. So.
How many have we had to have replaced?
In excess of 20.
How many? Let's start first. How many have we put out? How many locations do we have?
I believe there were a total of 7 locations, 2 signs apiece, and then an additional 20 on top of their initial. Additional 20 on top of the initial outlay.
Are they sort of random which ones are getting hit, or is it always like the one on Kinderkamak, or is it always the one on...
Kinderkamak and Reservoir.
Well, I know that one, but also the one...
That gets hit a lot. There's been a number that Midland and Myrtle has hit a great deal. There were a couple that we tried to move the location a little bit to allow a little wider turning radius for the vehicles, and it still didn't offer a great deal of success.
Better to hit a stanchion than a pedestrian.
True, but the intersection of Kinderkamak and Reservoir, we put up stanchions. They're going to go out in a few months. We need to improve the lighting at that intersection, and we certainly need to draw the zebras back in the intersection.
Well, we're all on it.
No, I understand, but there is no need to put more of these only for the pleasure of getting it knocked off by the bus or the car that's trying to go around the bus when the bus is stopped at the bus. That's a waste. Then put it to some other intersection, and when you have them, it takes 10 minutes still to cross the intersection because cars just zip by at 40 miles an hour. They're all going home. So that's all. And only because I do that intersection twice a day. Thank you.
Did Ed or Ellen, did you happen to bring that brochure we received from the county? There is a, I didn't bring mine either. There is a traffic control sign that was recommended to us by the county engineer when we met with them last week to discuss pedestrian improvements along Kinderkamak Road and Main Street, and it is a flashing pedestrian sign that you mount on the regular, what is that pole called?
Telephone pole?
No, it's just standard channel.
It's just a channel pole. You mount it on standard channel pole. It has a small solar array, so you don't need any electricity to it, and you can buy it. I think they're about $1,200. You could buy it with a button so that a pedestrian can push the button and it can flash. You can program it so that it stays lit all the time. You can program it so that it flashes all the time. But they are a good thing for us to have in a couple of the more heavily traveled pedestrian locations.
Is this something that's got that can be looked at as a capital purchase for a 5-year useful life?
I'm recommending it as a capital purchase.
If you give me a week to get the information together with the brochure, I'll spec out a couple of locations and put together a capital request that I'll add to this list. I'll get it back to the council through Alan.
I'll find the brochure and get it to you.
Okay.
All right, next item.
Computer replacement program. This is not the server, but the replacement program. This is a $6,000 capital line that goes towards replacement of terminals throughout headquarters at a variety of different locations. It can be outdated desktops, laptops, printers, other peripherals, and equipment. The upcoming year, there's been some monies added to some of the communications line item in the regular budget, but there's also going to be money needed from this to help offset a purchase of a new 911 computer terminal. That's the existing terminal that we have for the 911 system was purchased 9 years ago, and KML, the company that provided the hardware and software for that, will no longer warranty or service the equipment that we have. It's too far out of date. Their recommendation was 3 to 5 years for replacement of the equipment, so it's more than double the useful life on that. So we've been squeaking by with a couple of repairs, and I do want to make a purchase of that new equipment as soon as the capital budget is approved. That's the largest single computer item that I have on a replacement list that would fall under this guideline.
All right, any questions about that, Kathleen?
Last year, we had brought people in to talk about the 911, the county doing that. If that was to happen, would that eliminate this?
No, the difference is this is hardware and software that allows an interface between your dispatch point for 911 and our desk operations here. So whereas presently we're using Northwest Central as dispatch point, that stays the same, but we need the 911 computers
Physically here.
Here at this location.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Next item, Linitex Target backing curtains.
It's supposed to be Linitex Target backing curtains, and I have to apologize on this request because, well, let me explain first what these are. These are rubberized sheets that have a series of reinforced grommet holes at the top. They're mounted on bolts that go at the pistol range behind the targets where and then in front of the impact area. And they prevent ricochets of metal fragments, both lead and copper jacketed material, from going back and hitting the officer. There was an incident a number of years back where an officer using the range was struck with a projectile alongside of his eye. led to a number of surgeries and some permanent damage. So we sought a means of preventing that from happening again, and this Linatex target curtain turned out to be a great solution to that problem. The apology I have to make is the price on this. I have $1,800. Unfortunately, that's only half of the number of curtains that we would need to replace this year, so I actually need to double this request to make it $3,600. That will allow us to purchase 6 curtains, which is about half of the existing curtains at the range, and they're on a rotation. We're out of all reserve curtains at present, and I'd like to get them in place before the spring qualification.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, me too.
So how often do they go down there to shoot? What's the usage?
The entire department, all officers carrying a firearm are at the pistol range twice a year, in spring and in fall. And then what's mandated by the state is actually a day and a night qualification in the spring and a day and a night qualification in the fall, which amounts to 4 qualifications. In addition to those qualifications, which just show the officer's ultimate proficiency in meeting the state standard, we do training, as well, not just going down and taking a test, but there's actually training sessions that take place, live fire training exercises, and they're incorporated into the same session. So we have a firearms day that each squad goes down there, and each officer spends roughly 2 hours.
So it's 4 times however many officers we have.
But what we've done by incorporating we call it a dark house down there. We partitioned off several ports of the range with what amounts to landscape curtains to make it a dark area that meets the requirements for reduced lighting. And officers go in there and do night qualification during the daytime, because we're not actually firing at night any longer, but in nighttime conditions. So the officers can incorporate that into one qualification day. And we do both training for night shooting as well as day shooting.
What's the closest town to us that also has a range?
New Milford.
They used to have in the basement of the Borough Hall. Is that where it still is?
No, they have an outdoor range.
It's
across the river, almost perpendicular from...
It's by their swim club?
Yeah, behind there.
Is this something that, can be a combined thing?
Well,
We did that.
we did.
We had a joint with Ardell.
We still do?
We had a ricochet.
That was the officer that got shot, or struck. I shouldn't say shot, but he was struck with a ricocheted projectile. There's a lot of litigation that followed that, even with insurance and shared service.
Which range?
River Edge.
River Edge range is where the ricochet was?
Yes, prior to the Linatex curtains.
And my question along those lines is, one, are they required to wear eye protection? Was that officer wearing eye protection?
Yes, but this was something where the projectile struck around the temple. It wasn't
That's just like
striking
a
right
freak
now.
thing that could have happened anywhere.
It could, but it can't happen now with these rubberized curtains, because what happens is the bullet goes through it and it self-seals behind it, so when the fragment comes back, there's no opening, except when the ballistic curtain takes enough rounds to a certain area, it becomes more porous. It's compromised. Rather than replacing entire curtains at a reduced cost, we've actually had them sent back to the factory and they cut out the middle panel where it takes most of the rounds, and they actually patch them for us. So it's cheaper than getting an entire new curtain from top to bottom.
But I mean, a ricochet could happen here, it could happen anywhere. Why wouldn't we want to, go with New Milford? It's only 4 times a year. Why wouldn't we combine, with them?
There's been if you go back far enough, I had plans in the works quite a number of years ago to have a range put in at Grove Street. At the end of that, my idea was to have a tri-borough range of Ardell and New Milford, make it an indoor range with multiple ports on the second floor of it, and have classrooms and training space available on the lower level. The upper level then would have a deck that went over it, which would have allowed for increased parking space up there where that unit is now. It was one of those things, at that time, there were grant monies available specifically for pistol ranges with multiple agency usage, and the cost at that time was estimated at about $450,000, and it was never accepted.
Where does Oradell do there now?
Oradell goes to the Bergen County Police Academy, as do most agencies in Bergen County. There's only a handful of police departments that still have their own range.
Why wouldn't we go up there?
It's a tremendous added cost. When an officer goes up to Mawa, they're truly out of service. They're out of service for a greatly extended period of time. Whereas here, officers come in while they're working, and they're assigned to the pistol range during a time when they're otherwise on duty. If something happened and qualifications had to stop, they can go right back into service if they have to. And that actually has happened on a couple of occasions. For the most part, though, we're able to get them in for uninterrupted training and then back on the road again. It's very efficient, and it doesn't require overtime, whereas going to the academy does.
Has that sustained a lot of damage from flooding down there? Has it have a lot of things had to be replaced because of flooding?
We've, I mean, over the years, dependent on what we had down there, there has been flood damage. However, we put in a berm system that's, again, forward of the target area. The tie walls that are in now are sunk in concrete. There was a time when flooding used to raise that whole wall up, and it would have to all be, rebuilt. So it's actually sustained the last number of floods and storms without any truly significant damage. It's been reinforced many times, and we're kind of staying one step ahead of the prevailing conditions down there.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
I think there was just
Network hardware, server, and DDR.
Yeah, the server, which is the main control for our computer systems, all of our data management here at the police station is in need of replacement. This was last done in 2009. 2008, 2009 was when it was last done. It was 2008 capital request for 2009 fiscal year. It's basically just reached the end of its useful life. There's, as I stated, several system-wide repairs have been undertaken during the past year, and it presently requires full replacement of the server to continue network functioning. I've broken down the capital request into two different component parts, all dealing with equipment. One has to do with the server itself, and the other one has to do with its backup function, and that's necessary for us to be able to reconfigure any data that might be lost during a software crash. And we have experienced that in the past, and do use the backup system in order to rebuild calls that may have been otherwise lost. So it's just one of those things that the 5 years capital improvement that was put into effect in 2008, we're at 2014 now, and it's in the last year it's been requiring a lot of IT maintenance that we're hoping to alleviate by a new system.
Okay, any questions on that item? All right, thank you, Chief.
One more question.
Good.
We don't have any vehicles this year because we've been on an every other year replacement. So going into next year, you would be on schedule for 2 new cars?
Next year, yes.
Expectation?
This present year, we have 2 leases that are coming due in April. So those cars will be paid off, and the only remaining lease would be the newest sedan that was purchased in 2013. That will be paid through the next 3 years.
Now, are you inclined to go back to the SUVs again, like we did last year, or are you still sticking with the sedans for?
We had a chance this year to have one of each. The SUV was purchased under capital from last year, and the sedan for patrol purposes. Right now, we have a number of SUVs that are serviceable in our fleet. that will remain in the fleet and provide utility vehicles. So there are two that are marked as patrol units and one that's an unmarked unit. Right now, I would assume going into next year, we're probably going to be looking at 2 sedan purchases.
Yeah, I have a question. Chief, the new sedans are smaller than the old sedans, and the Crown Victoria, at least it seems to me. Have we had any complaints by officers in terms of getting in and out?
No.
Because they have to carry a lot of hardware.
There is. And when you get into that vehicle now, when you have the camera system that's overhead for the video recording, and you have the computer system to your side,
right,
and you have the carbine that's in the vehicle as
it's
well.
Your office.
You're in, yeah, it is your office, and you're in almost like a cockpit.
Okay.
That's in
So
there. It's kind of a close space. But even some of our larger guys, the vehicles inside, the way they're configured, this new Ford that we have, everybody likes it that's been driving it. And it's a variety of sizes of guys that have been in it, and it's roomier on the inside than it appears from the outside.
Okay.
They did a good job engineering the interior compartment.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. It's now 8 o'clock. We have to open to the public before we go into our 8 o'clock meeting. Is there a member of the public who had a question?
I just had a question about...
Can you just give us your name and address, please?
Sorry. Kathleen Hanslin, 49 Greenway Terrace. I just wanted to ask a question about the range. I was just wondering, so the officers from other towns that go to the Bergen County range, is that something that the towns pay, their towns pay? Is that like something they pay for?
To pay
For
to
the
use
officers to
county's
go
range?
there, yes.
There actually is I believe there is a day fee. They pay by day session up there, if I'm not mistaken.
So is there any chance to like have a range here, like for other places to use it and pay, that we could see some income off of it if we, I don't know how that works with like insurance and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Never been.
there is always an insurance issue, and we did find when we were using with Oradell, they paid, for use of the range, and they came with us. After being with us, they went to Paramus for a while. Paramus is an indoor range. So at the indoor range, there was more flexibility with scheduling. Because ours is outdoor, and the qualifications take place in the spring and in the fall, it makes range time kind of tight. And we wound up kind of tripping over each other for certain range dates. We have basically 5 range dates scheduled, plus a makeup day for any rain or other things that may otherwise interrupt qualifications. And Oradell, for example, when they were sharing it with us, had the same schedule, so it got to be kind of a, I won't say a fight for range time, but it became somewhat problematic, to the point where after 2 years of doing it, Oradell didn't want to participate with us anymore. So they went to Paramus, where they had a greater number of dates available and didn't have to worry about the weather. They were paying about, I think it was $375 a day for range use. And after that, they went up to the police academy, where I believe they still are going.
Kathy, there's a quality of life issue also. If you live in a neighborhood within pistol shot of the range, you can really hear it. It sounds like there's a war going on.
You wouldn't want it.
No, you wouldn't want it. You wouldn't want back.
We often get complaints at River Edge when New Milford's firing, for example. Complaints will come into our desk and we're not even at the range. So I mean, I would agree with the mayor that the more times the range is in use, the more people notice it. Right now, it's kind of just, it's there, it doesn't really bother. We've minimized greatly over the years the amount of different dates. Even though we're there the same number of hours, we've consolidated it to a great degree. So when we're in there for a couple of weeks, and then we're finished.
Right.
And then you don't hear us again until the fall, and the same thing, a couple of weeks, and we're not there again until the spring. So it's much less of a impact on the neighbors that are down there.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to have to go back into the work session to do new business and old business. And we can begin the 8 o'clock meeting by standing for a moment of silent prayer or reflection. We could have Councilman Papaleo lead us in a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which business affecting their interests is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council of River Edge have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place posted in the Borough Hall. The notices were published in the Record and the Ridgewood News earlier last year, or late last year. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy, to safeguard our infrastructure, provide honest, courteous, professional services, establishing a sense of trust and accomplishment with our residents. We do this through research and prudent planning. We are always sensitive to the needs of our taxpayers while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people due to the revenue constraints imposed by present economic conditions, state mandates, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. There are 3 exits in council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. We're on the record both by video and audio. During the public portion of the meeting, if any member of the public wishes to be seen and heard, they need only identify themselves, giving us their name and address, and we can hear them. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Pacola?
Here.
Councilwoman Rashid?
Here.
Councilman Young?
Here.
Councilman Equestrada?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mastroza?
Present. All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council work session and regular meeting of January 27, 2014?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Thank you. We don't have any proclamations or awards this evening.
Mayor, could I just interrupt for a second?
Yes.
The chief asked me if I wanted to stay. I said I did not think so, but I see we have the lieutenant promotion policy. Do we need to tell the chief something different, or because he's already gone, but I can catch him if necessary?
I don't think that's going to cover anything new, Mayor,
Yeah.
that he hasn't heard before. It's just a report from the borough attorney, and ask the council to act on
That's what I thought, too.
his recommendation.
All right, that's still on our, dealing with our work session agenda.
Yes.
Appointments and personnel changes. So, first, we have to open to the public on any agenda item. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are open to the public on any issue on the agenda that any member of the public wishes to speak to. Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public for this portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have appointments and personnel changes. First is to approve the appointment of Bridget Bogart as certified municipal planner, retroactive to January 1st.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. To approve the hiring of Anthony Ciapolis as part-time clerk typist in the construction code official's office and the clerk's office, not to exceed 10 hours per week at an hourly rate of $18.48 with a 6-month probationary term.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstain?
Question?
Yes,
Howard,
Ed.
Anthony works with us, does she need a 6-month probationary period, or is it because it's a new position?
It was a new position, just to see how she relates with the other personnel and handles the work. You can waive it if you want. I have no objection to waiving it.
She's been here, and I think she's done a very good job, so I don't know whether we should have her go through a 6-month probationary period. So, make a motion to amend to waive the 6-month probationary period.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor, there's a second. Any further discussion on this issue? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Thank you. All right, we have a correspondence that is listed on the agenda, copies of which are available by members of the public should they wish to review this documentation, which is now a public record. In addition, we have monthly reports that are on file with the clerk's office for the Shade Tree Commission, for the Rec Commission, for the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and for the Beautification Committee. We have two ordinances on for first reading this evening. Madam Clerk, can you read the title to ordinance number 1799?
Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limit and to establish a tax bank, NJSA 48-45.14 for the calendar year 2014.
All right, this is a ordinance that was recommended by Mr. Negrian, our CFO. Alan, could you briefly just explain to the public what this ordinance is?
This ordinance permits the mayor and council to increase the appropriation spending cap from 0.5% to 3.5%. Now, it does not mean that taxes will rise to that level. In fact, for many years, the borough has crafted budgets which fall well below this increase. But what this allows us to do is to bank that difference between where the actual budget is and this permitted increase in case there's a need to budget a little bit higher in a particular year. So I will go into detail in the calculation as part of our budget meeting, but that's a short explanation of the ordinance.
All right, can I have a motion to... Yes, Ed.
Question. Al, maybe you can, I know you guys explain more of the budget, but did they change the way they calculated the COLA this year? Because for the past 3 years, it's been 2%, 3.5%, 2%, and now it's 0.5%. What's the intent of the state? I mean, in general, I don't like this cap bank idea. I think it just gives too much leeway. We should be held to a stricter cap, and last year I argued the 2% versus the 3.5%. Now they're saying we can't even have a 2% option, even though that's supposed to be the maximum appropriations cap by law. They're saying we can only raise by 0.5%. I guess I'm just confused as to what they've done this year to change the parameters so much, and I think this is not a good step in terms of controlling budgets statewide, because now, whereas a town may have opted to go for, say, a 2% increase versus 3.5%, now you're forcing people either go essentially no increase or 3.5%. So I don't know what's different this year, and said why the COLA is so much lower.
They work off of the implicit price deflator, whatever that standard is. I haven't seen the technical data on it to comment.
It's never been this low, correct?
No, it has never been this low. But the law requires that they use that to put forth the initial appropriation cap. So, yes, and I don't know anybody who can live with a 0.5% increase, on these budgets.
So you're saying they're forcing the hand to go higher?
Exactly.
By
They're
backdoor.
encouraging all the towns now to go to the 3.5%, because at least they said when there was some constraint, if you could stay with the 2 versus 3.5, you're sort of keeping these a little more controlled. Now you're saying to a town, it's either no increase or and again, this is on potential expenditure. It's not necessarily real dollars, but I just don't think if the state's intent is to try to keep property taxes under inflation, this is not the way to do it.
Right, I agree, yeah. I mean, because human nature, I'd bet most people are going to go for the 3 or the whatever it is.
I mean, you're still allowed your emergencies, you're still allowed your capital, you're still allowed your debt service, you're still allowed over 4% on your pensions and your health. So there's a lot of loopholes too. So, you get this 3.5%, and you could probably still raise taxes 10% overall. To me, it defeats the whole purpose of having these caps. So I don't understand what the state's and the legislature's intention here is with this, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Particularly this year with this COLA at 0.5%. So that's my...
No explanation, no basis for it? They didn't come out with any basis for the number?
It's just been so different.
Well, it comes from economic data, I think.
With the 0.5%.
It's not something they strike without economic data behind it.
This is really, what we're really doing now is discussing it.
Yes.
We should really make a motion and a second and then discuss it before we vote. That's the way parliamentary procedure is. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Now, if there's anybody who wants to discuss it or give an opinion like Ed gave.
So our vote's going to be either take it or leave it.
Well, this is just introduce the ordinance.
We're only introducing the ordinance tonight. It's got to get put on for a public hearing.
But Anthony, it doesn't mean we're going to spend 3.5. It's just, we're just giving ourselves leeway for emergency or for disaster.
The cap doesn't limit emergencies. That's why I don't...
Well, let me give you an example. You have contracts with certain bargaining units that for 2014 require a 2% increase. Now, there are also built into those contracts step increases, longevity payments, other types of roll-ups that come off of that base salary and a 2% increase, which could make those contracts more expensive than just a 2% increase. So now you might be looking at, something over 2% to accommodate those contracts.
On the flip side, this makes it also harder for us to negotiate going next, because they're going to say now, well, we always say, well, we're limited by this 2% cap. They're going to come next year and say, well, you can go to 3.5. So it just gives them a stronger bargaining position also.
Well, it certainly gives them an argument, but I don't know if that gives them a stronger position, not when you have 24 versus... I don't know if it gives them a stronger position. It certainly gives them, fodder for discussion. But, I mean, historically, we've never used our bank, at least not while I've been in council, and from what I understand for years before. So, yes, I guess anyone could argue anything, but we're just making this so that we have the flexibility, but we haven't executed it, and I don't think we're intending to execute it. We're just giving ourselves that availability. I do see your point, I guess. What I'm saying is...
But Alan has recommended that we utilize this.
As he did last year.
Yeah, we had the same conversation last year.
Same
The difference was
conversation last year.
2% versus 3.5% last year.
What was that?
Last year, it was the argument between 2% and 3.5%. This year, the argument was between 0.5% and 3.5%. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
it doesn't, to me, there really is no choice this year.
I don't like that.
There is no choice. 2% was what the intent was supposed to be, and that's why my argument last year was we should learn to live within our 2% cap.
Yeah,
Now they're
I like
saying,
that.
really the cap's 3.5%. And we have all these exemptions anyway, so there really is
It's
no...
like a pushy salesperson at Target. Listen, I don't want the card, that's it. Like,
So, but I said, the state left us in a very, I mean, I think it's just a foolish position that, the way they did this calculation, because it really...
We could issue some sort of resolution or something that we could send to the legislature saying that we feel that this is a...
Maybe just bring it up to our local official.
We could do that
just to see, how is this, what's the intent? Maybe there's something I'm missing. What was the benefit
it doesn't make
to do
sense
this
to me either.
1/2 increase? I don't understand it. So, if we want to reach out to our assembly people and our senator, just to get some clarification on it, I'd be in favor of that. But
Yeah,
obviously, so they left us with no
halfway,
choice this year, so it's...
But the true constraint, we're just not going to go that high, so
But
it's
we're already
proved that,
we're already way over.
not yet, it's
All
not
right,
finalized.
Denise, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes,
Councilman Paul?
What do we...
Introduce the ordinance.
Introduce the ordinance.
just the first introduction.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dees?
Yes.
Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Councilman Estrada?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
All right. This will be put on for a publication and a public hearing, and vote on final adoption. Madam Clerk, can you read the title to ordinance number 1800?
An ordinance amending Chapter 416 zoning, Article 8 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of River Edge.
Okay. I believe this is the ordinance regarding the property, the zone change on Kinderkamack Road on the eastbound side to include various zoning changes, some of which address affordable housing or age-restricted housing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second, but I'm still on record of having some major issues with the language as it's been proposed.
Okay.
I'm moving it forward, hoping that when it goes to the planning board will address some of these issues.
All right.
Particularly, like I mentioned with Mr. Barrett, I still have some issues with the density, the bulk of the building, the side yards, the buffering, the height. So I still have some major concerns about the plan, but I'm willing to move it forward to the planning board, and if the planning board sees fit to make some changes, then I'll consider it upon final adoption.
Ellen?
Can I ask a question? Prior to it coming to the planning board the first time, it had been, the ordinance called for the senior housing to be eliminated, correct?
Yes,
So the change to the ordinance is to just put that back in?
But
Partially.
I know the
Yeah.
building is completely different, and
Yes.
I agree with Ed's concerns.
The original proposal was 46,
Right.
all
Yep.
age restricted.
Right, exactly.
And then they came back and asked, actually, it was less than 46. Then they added more units and said,
Right.
take the age
Right.
restriction out.
Right.
Now they're at this new
That's
configuration.
how I understand it, okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, there was a motion and there was a second. Any further discussion? I know we have concerns. Hopefully, they'll be addressed at the planning board regarding the other bulk requirements. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Paula?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastiz?
Yes.
Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Councilman Estrada?
Yes.
And Councilman Cavalera?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. We don't have any ordinances on this evening for second reading or final adoption. We have resolutions on our resolution by consent list, 14-80, up to and including the payment of bills, 14-89. Would any member of the governing body like to pull out for separate discussion, consideration, or vote any resolutions on the consent list? All right, I would like a motion on resolutions 14-80 up to and including 14-88.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on those resolutions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? And could our finance chair read and move resolution 14-89, the payment of bills?
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee. Now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $6,814,282.75. Capital account, $3,090. Recreation account, $605.54. Self-insurance account, $6,345.06. Trust other account, $555.49. Trust others developers account, $1,242.50. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? All right, can I have a motion, please, to open the hearing to the public on any issue?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. If any member of the public wishes to speak, ask a question, make a statement regarding any issue affecting their interest, all they need to do is be recognized.
You or you?
Can I have a motion to close the public portion of this meeting?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Council comments. Any council comments before we go back into the work session and finish up?
I just would like
Kathleen?
to make a comment that the DPW once again has done a great job with cleaning the snow. Denise, you were kind enough to forward that comment from the public, so thank you. I saw them out there salting and plowing, and thank you again for good work, DPW.
Councilman Capola.
None, thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Bastiz.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Mignon.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Acofreda.
Now, other than, can I announce the proclamation for the 18th from Mr. Fletcher?
Can you announce anything you want?
I just want to make sure, because Alan loves to correct me, and I take for less. So, at any rate, something that I thought about was to, and I suggested to the mayor, and the mayor has agreed to have a proclamation in favor of Patrick Fletcher, the Riverdale School Superintendent, for his accomplishments during the 6 years that he's been with us, that culminated with him being nominated Superintendent of the Year for the Northern region. There is only 3, Northern, Central, and Southern Jersey. And in March, one of these 3 will become the state superintendent. So we were looking for the first meeting where meetings at the high school would not be in conflict. and that was the meeting of February 18th, where the school is observed, the school will be closed. So we will have that proclamation on that agenda, and with Denise's assistance, inviting the Riverdale Board of Education, the River Edge Board of Education, the superintendents of River Edge, and Patrick's family, if they wish to attend. That's all.
All right, thank you. Councilman Papaleo.
I just want to echo and second Council President Murphy's comments about the DPW and all of our services and our volunteers during these many natural emergencies. Thank you.
All right, and I would just like to mention that, in addition to the DPW doing a great job, we have some more snowstorms on their way, so things are going to be more expensive regarding our budget for these storms. They're running us about $25,000 to $30,000 per storm. I don't know if we only budget for 3 or 4 of them, so we're coming to the end of our budget to take care of these problems. We'll do the best we can to make emergency appropriations so that we can continue the good efforts to protect the public. I'd like to remind everyone that tomorrow night we have our SID meeting here. If anybody knows of any potential stakeholder or a commercial property owner or a business person in the proposed SID district along Kinderkamak Road, please remind them to please be present so that they can express themselves regarding the creation of a business improvement district. I'd like to also mention that our assembly people, Tim Eustace and Mr. Lagana, Joe Lagana, will be here in the future to give out certificates and presentations to former Police Chief John Malvey, Fire Chief John Malvey, and Patrick Carney, a sophomore at the Riverdale High School, for suggesting to the legislature the adoption of a new law, which we'll get Ellen. What was the law?
Patrick wanted to enter the National Geographic photo contest, and reading all of the regulations, he read that residents of Syria, North Korea, and New Jersey are prohibited and Iran because it violates our gambling laws. So he approached our assembly people and asked them to look into this, and as a result, entering contests of skill is no longer prohibitive of our gambling laws. So he's going to enter again.
So now we're off the Syria-Iran list.
We're off the watch list, yes.
Wow.
Pack ourselves.
That's crazy, New Jersey, Syria,
These are the
Iran.
people we're hanging out with. These are the lists we're on.
It's crazy, right?
It must be crazy to see that in the fine print of the National Geographic contest rules.
New Jersey.
So New Jersey joins the axis of evil.
Right.
Wow.
From entering a photo
Old
contest.
school right
There you go.
That's an archaic
It was
gambling law.
considered what, a game of
A contest of
A contest of skill.
Nice.
And that's it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good. We can go back into our work session.
So moved.
Is there a second to go back into the work session?
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we left off with the discussion of the police promotional policy for lieutenants. Mayor, I apologize, I do have one more budget item. The TAP items I'll save for our Saturday meeting on February 8th, this Saturday. But in your packet of information on the budget, there's a copy of a local finance notice which gives information on what's called the transitional aid application process. And because we have the ability to be what's called self-review this year, I must answer a question as part of the certification as to whether we will apply for this transitional aid or not. And I'd like a decision on that tonight. Now, this transitional aid, there is a schedule that you would have to keep. You have to provide notice to apply. You have to attend a mandatory meeting, and the deadline is March 14th. If you look at the other side of the local finance notice, this is a program only for municipalities anticipating difficulties making payments toward non-discretionary or critical obligations, such as your debt service, contractual obligations, or the public safety payroll, none of which do we anticipate with the 2014 budget. It's also a declaration that the municipality is incapable of meeting its obligations and managing its finances, and this, too, does not really apply to River Edge, in my opinion. And then there are 4 bullet points here that go to the type of control. So I must bring this to your attention that the program is available. I don't think we really qualify for it, and I would appreciate your consideration and a motion to not participate in the transitional aid so I can complete my certification.
Can I just ask a question? It says you have to put a notice of intent to apply by February 12th.
If you're interested in participating in this program.
Mhm. So if we were interested, we'd have to put that notice in
Yes.
quickly.
I move to not apply.
Can I just finish asking him a question?
Okay, I thought you asked your question.
No, I had one more question. Then on the back page, it's 5 paragraphs up. It says, only municipalities demonstrating substantial action toward becoming self-sufficient by increasing revenues or reducing costs will be awarded funds. So how would that, could you give like a brief explanation of?
Well, these programs apply for the most part to urban areas that have lost their tax base. So I think what they're looking to do is to replace the lost taxes with some state aid, but then provide controls or programs so that you would become financially stable. Now, additional revenues might be some sort of redevelopment to allow for additional tax base. Maybe there's construction of a hotel or motel, so there's a certain tax that a municipality that has a hotel or motel could have as additional revenues. Put controls in place that would put you in a financially stable position.
Do you know what other towns have gotten this?
Well, you're talking about towns like Camden, Patterson, Elizabeth.
Have any other towns in Bergen County?
Oh, yeah, but Bergen County towns. I have a list probably from last year in mind.
Why not?
Doesn't really come to mind.
So you're saying you don't want to do this? You don't
No, I'm
think we have a
saying
chance?
I have to bring it to your attention, but I have to certify that they want me to certify that we will not be applying for this. So, in my opinion, it does not apply to us, and we should not make application. Likelihood we will receive any money is very small.
So my motion is for us not to apply for the transitional aid application process.
Second.
All right, now any further discussion? Mr. Negri, our borough attorney, mentioned to me that if we were to receive transitional aid, there'd be all sorts of controls on hiring and all kinds of things, right?
Yes.
Procurement, other matters where the state would exert control.
And additional fiscal control measures that may be directed by the Division of Local Government Services. So you would sign a memorandum of agreement or a memorandum of understanding, which would outline all of these controls and issues.
All right. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Cole?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bouskey?
Yes.
Councilman Renown?
Yes.
Councilman Eccleston?
Yes.
And Councilman Cavalera?
Yes.
All right, thank you there. So that was the last budget item. Now, the next thing for discussion was the police promotional policy for lieutenants. Mr. Sarlo?
Late last year, Mayor and Council asked me to look at the promotion, the sergeant and lieutenant. I provided you guys with some radical changes. It was then discussed that you did not want to go down that path right now.
Baby steps, baby steps.
And you wanted to do some promotions. However, I think it was all agreed upon that there should be some type of written test with regard to the lieutenants. The way the lieutenant test reads right now is that they would go for an interview and a psychological exam. You then directed me to pretty much take the sergeant's exam or the sergeant criteria and to put it with the lieutenant criteria. So I direct your attention to 71-16B, and that mirrors your sergeant promotional policy, and that requires that all lieutenants undergo a written test that's going to be numerically scored, the psychological part, and also a oral interview with the mayor and council. I do urge you down the line to take a look at your promotionals, but I do understand that you need to promote, and I believe the chief was acceptable to this change right now. So with your direction, that's what we did. That's what I did.
All right. Is everybody satisfied with the proposed amendment to our ordinance regarding police promotion for lieutenant?
One question there.
Yes, Ed.
It says the mayor and council may require the candidate to undergo an oral examination. Are you saying that's the interview?
That's the interview.
So
And again, that's how your sergeant's test is, right?
May, okay.
I mean, we could certainly change it to shall.
An oral examination also, I don't know if that denotes independent, third party, or is it, is it?
Again, that's taken right from your sergeant.
Yeah, I'm just
So,
seeing
yeah,
whether that language makes sense to keep it in, and also, we may require a psychological, I think we probably should.
So you want to
everything
put
should
that as to
Yeah.
change it almost like for language as the mayor and council shall conduct an interview?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And the psych.
And also
That may
require-
also, hold on.
Because we say may include a
That's
psychological.
in D, though.
No, in C.B. it also says it.
Right, but if you go to D, you're requiring interviews. So I believe if we go back to B, that's giving you an option of a oral interview.
That's it, well, the oral examination,
An oral
that
exam.
term confuses me. So
Yeah, well,
to me, it's almost like a,
It's like a test.
Yeah.
or like a
Yeah.
As
If
opposed
there's an
to-
interview
bunch
in
of police
D,
professionals
Right.
quizzing you orally versus.
perhaps.
then
It
that's-
gives you the option of taking an oral exam, and I agree with you, I don't really know what an oral exam would consist of.
So I would either take that out
Again,
then and leave, if we require the interview in the other section.
Yeah, D, if you go to D, that
Well,
requires the interview.
we have used an independent board to do oral interviews of candidates. And, it's a process that may not want to use it this time around, but, it's there for the future.
Well, then we need to define that better, 'cause I don't know.
Gives you the option, like, to have the state police chiefs come in.
But then maybe we should just then explain that better, because someone coming 2 years from now reading this, I don't know if they're going to know what it means. I mean, it's a wide interpretation to say what an oral examination is, and who's giving it, and so it's either an oral examination by a third party or whatever process we've used then. I think it just needs to be clarified. It's just vague.
Then we're going to need to clarify on the sergeants, too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's one
I don't think we have to,
But,
I don't think we have to be that specific. I think
No,
that, giving us as much breathing room as we can to keep it, in line with our former past practices.
I provided you in the past with an example, a very in-depth, how an oral examination is conducted. You could certainly take a look at that, and it explains, as you require, in detail, explains what an oral examination would, and just as they said, it would be conducted by a panel of 3 police chiefs, by the New Jersey State Chiefs of Police. They have their own examination committee. It talks about what the exam would be geared towards and so forth like that. I could certainly tailor it more detailed.
But right now, we need to move forward. And I agree that we may want to re-examine the Fort Lee example. But for right now, I think what would be best if we simply make this one correction or amendment and move forward, and then maybe in June, July, August, think about something a little bit more extensive for the future.
What the biggest concern was in the litigation was the promotional policy was totally subjective, and you had no objective criteria.
Mhm.
So at least having the written part, you're having some type of objective criteria in it.
So I kind of feel there's some urgency for us to move
That
forward now.
was my indication too, and that's why we said, let's just throw this in from the sergeant steps, let's mirror it, and then down the line, baby steps. And then we'll-
It makes it consistent with what we do for the sergeants, so we'll make the sergeants go through. So,
Do we need a motion?
we need a motion to have the ordinance prepared for an amendment, and then put it on for a first reading.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
I have one more question, sorry, coming in late. When it says list of candidates, under E, number 2, it says, in the event that more than one candidate is chosen for promotion, the first candidate shall be considered to be senior to any candidates chosen for promotion thereafter. So that just means the senior person is the number 1 contender?
None of this has changed, first
Okay,
off, okay?
yeah.
I haven't changed anything from what you have except for the written part.
Uh-huh.
So that's the first thing. So however you have done it in the past will still continue to be.
Once you go through the process and you have all the data and you create a list, top candidate to, the progressing downward, as you select off of that list to make the appointment, then the next one becomes the next senior person that gets that opportunity for the appointment, as long as your list is in effect.
Okay, I didn't realize it was when someone got
So that's what it means by
promoted
senior.
and then the next one up. I thought it was on a list of potential people, and the senior person had to be...
No.
No, it's not
Okay.
their seniority ranks them up higher, it's the next
Because we
senior.
don't give a test every year,
Uh-huh.
when we do give a test, we make a list, and we appoint the lieutenant, but then we have a lieutenant's list in case a lieutenant retires, or we want to appoint another lieutenant, we have a list that we can go to.
Thank you.
All right, there was a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call, please, Denise?
Councilwoman
Yes.
Murphy, Councilman Zapata.
Yes.
Councilman Steve.
Yes.
Councilman Young.
Yes.
Councilman Freda.
Yes.
And Councilman Caporetto.
Yes.
All right, good. Send the final version of the amendment to Denise. So we
You
can
should have it, but I'll
for
resend it
first-
if you need
first
it.
reading. You have it. All right, next, the residential energy savings publicizing a meeting.
Mayor, if I may, I'm just looking to continue our discussion on the residential energy aggregation, looking to pick a date, perhaps in March, first meeting in March, second meeting in March, do a little advertising for the general public, invite back the consultant to answer questions, and give the public the opportunity to voice their concerns or thoughts directly to the council and to this consultant, and then council would be in a better position to make to consider this.
Okay. Thoughts, comments?
Good idea.
Would the public information meeting similar to what Little Ferry had, or this
No.
is prior to that?
I think you asked them to do 2 meetings, one
Okay.
prior to...
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we're going to run into a lot of problems when we mandate change for the town, and you have to opt out as a resident. I mean, I was reading about issues that's been happening down in, I believe it was Tom's River, where people who've already changed suppliers on their own are getting hit with end-of-contract charges, because all of a sudden they're being switched off to another provider without necessarily they'll have public notice per se, but most people aren't going to be paying attention to this, and it's something that's going to sneak up on people because they're not going to know, and they have to opt out. To me, this is just an easy way of doing the work for these companies who can't market door-to-door and tell them why they should change energy suppliers. I mean, I think there's no guarantees that they're going to maintain their rates. I don't know who these companies are, if there's more than one company who does the aggregation. I don't know how they're getting paid. I don't know how much they're getting paid. I mean, to me, to force this on everybody and expect them to know to opt out is not a good precedent.
We're taking choice away from the consumer.
Yes.
But, Ed, are the problems you're citing when a resident went independently to a third-party supplier or through an aggregation?
No, this is with people who are, if you had switched already,
Right.
and then the town switched on them, and then they're getting hit with these cancellation penalties because they weren't aware that they had to opt out. And I think that's going to be the problem. It's one of these things where, you have 4,000, 5,000 families in town. I don't know if how many people are going to be paying that close of attention that we're unilaterally switching their energy provider on them, and they have to opt out.
And I could be wrong,
Could have a packed house.
but my recollection was that anyone who already has a third party would not be eligible.
That wasn't my understanding from what's happened in Toms River. Apparently Toms River says
According to Gable Associates, if you have a third party, they're going to leave you alone. They cannot take you.
They can't take right.
That's what his
He did say that.
representation was.
And then the second thing that I wanted to say is that,
that's his representation, but I'm saying what I got information from some people from Toms River who said that's not the case, so.
I think all your points are great. I don't disagree with any of them. We need to vet them, but I believe what we asked him to do was simply come here and test the waters. So we asked for an additional publicizing, which before we even consider moving to a ordinance. And then we can, and he is on the hot seat for that meeting, not us. And we're clearly saying we're simply trying to bring savings to the town. If you guys don't want it, we won't do it. I thought that was the intent.
He also did say that there was no fee to opt out.
But you have to know to opt out, that's what I'm saying. You're automatically switched, and you have to know to opt out, and, I mean, and you're going to see tomorrow night, I don't think we're going to get a good turnout tomorrow night, but we're going to see what's going to happen is a lot of people aren't going to come, and you take the fact that somebody doesn't come as a tacit endorsement of what you're doing, and it's going to be the same thing here. We may have two people who pay attention, they come and say, don't do this, and we say, well, most people didn't object to it, so we're going to do it. And I said, I think it's going to, that's a larger problem for people when you're switching something. I don't understand, again, go back to the legislature, why they switched the law. I think it's because these companies couldn't do it on their own, so now they made it the backdoor way, and we'll switch everybody. If you want out, you got to opt out.
And we could have a packed house when they find out.
Well, we may.
I'm just saying, they're not going to come.
I'm just saying, as a principle, I don't like switching things and having people opt out. If it was switching it and then you can opt in.
Right, different, right.
I understand it, but I don't like
Well,
the
you know,
opt out.
my point to the man was that, every day I'm getting some piece of literature from an energy company. I don't have all day to, calculate and disseminate the information and figure out, so that's part of the reason of just not doing anything. Just, you think, you have hopes that you're going to do something?
Well, that's it. I mean, we're getting one representative view, and, I mean, again, the information I had read is where this has been done in other states. It's basically this buyer's remorse. What happens is after the initial period goes, the rates go up. These consultants are paid out of those fees, and nobody seems to know what they're getting paid. So there's a lot of gray areas, and there's no guarantees. I mean, it's like anything else. You sign up for Verizon for 3 years for $30 a month, and then your contract expires, now they're doubling your rate, and they're counting on you now when to go through the hassle of switching again to...
But he did say that they guaranteed it.
Yeah, and I also believe that in his presentation, unless he's misrepresenting himself, which is something we can certainly look into, he said that when the contract comes to an end, we then, the council, have to create another ordinance to continue, and if we don't create that second ordinance, then it automatically expires. It sunsets. So it is, I don't know if he said a 3 or a 5 year.
It's been much shorter than that. It was like
2 years.
2 years.
It's a
12 to
2 year,
21 months.
and then at the end of 2 years, it sunsets automatically, and we look at the rates and say, we speak to the town, do they want to do it? I think all of your concerns are legitimate, but to have, another presentation, and maybe what we could do is maybe write a letter to the editor as a council, put it in the town news, because everybody reads the town news, and I think that's sometimes the best way to get people to notice it, because, an open letter to the citizens of River Edge in the town news saying, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing, this is what is claimed to have happened, why don't you come and see? And I think we might get a bigger draw, because, I mean, everyone reads that town news, and there's a lot of discussion with that. I just think it's a good idea for us at least to see if we can bring some savings. I know I'd like to. I mean, I look at my gas and electric right now.
But that's fine if you want to do it on your own. I mean, for us to assume we're going to be getting people savings, I mean, that's the first supposition.
Well, he said that the law was designed that it had to be underneath the tariff, and at least for the first year. If it did go above, it could only go above for one more year. So it's a 2-year life of the ordinance, of the commitment. And the first year is guaranteed, that it's below by law. It doesn't seem like much of a risk for 2 years, and when the first year is guaranteed below the
But again,
tariff.
you're making that decision for
Yeah.
4,000 families in this town.
I agree with
And
that.
That's what
We
I'm saying.
can't,
That's all
we're
I'm
being the
saying.
nanny state. Yeah, but we're big, you have to look.
I just don't like their process, the way they're, to me, it's a fact, it's just,
But we could do our homework and do more investigating about the negatives.
It's the same way that auto insurance works in New Jersey.
Yeah.
If you don't fill out your coverage selection page, everybody gets the verbal threshold. Everybody gives up their right to sue unless you affirmatively go in and select higher rates or the ability to sue if you break your fingernail or something like that. It's the same thing that the government already does.
I don't think that
Context.
you're equating apples and oranges. Everybody knows they have to get auto insurance, and that's something people pay for, and they know they're a little more
Everybody
involved.
has to have electricity.
Yes, and they should have the choice who they want to use. It not should be
Well,
River Edge telling them you're using company B, whether you like it or not, and then you have to know to opt out. And I'm telling you, most people aren't going to know to opt out.
I mean, I agree with a lot of what Ed is saying, but I think we should give the public an opportunity to hear
Yeah,
firsthand from themselves.
But this idea's been out there, switching providers, and so and I think because they're not seeing the return they want, they've convinced the legislature this is the way they should do it. So that's.
I just don't think people have enough knowledge or education or
You know, I would feel different if there were 4 companies standing up here telling us this, but we're getting one vendor who's telling us everything, and.
Well, there's other vendors, we can approach them.
But we don't,
Right,
we're not the experts
Riverside
on it.
Cooperative is recommending this energy aggregator.
I don't think they've come to that point yet, but they're inclined to do that, because most of the members of Riverside are also a member of the SEM for the municipal energy side, and this is the consultant for the SEM.
Did they do due diligence on other companies to come to determine they wanted to proceed with
No.
that you know?
No.
So they have only talked with...
But many towns have had, like River Edge, an experience of looking at other companies through the years. And we have had a few come before us, and those have been rejected, in the past. So, I can't speak for the other towns, but if they're like River Edge, then I'm sure they had other opportunities. This one, because there's no cost to the town, because of they take on the entire burden of communicating with the public and dealing with the day-to-day issues, it seemed more attractive than what we'd experienced in the past.
I just don't think people, I'm just going to speak for myself. When I get my bill, I'm glad that I have electricity and heat. And I don't look and think about, the breakdown. I paid the bill. And I think it's almost like we would be doing some research for a greater amount of people.
I actually have looked at my bill and shopped. I'm just saying, so, I'm not saying there's right or wrong, but some people do, some people don't. I don't know. I mean, I think it's up to the onus is on the consumer.
So when you looked at the bill and shopped,
Yeah.
how many companies did you look at, and what did you eventually do?
Well, I kept what I have. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I had, like I said, some postcards come, whatever, so I called, spoke to representatives, got, to the best of my knowledge, handled the situation. But I would liken this to an arranged marriage. Like, you're going to marry this person, you can opt out maybe later on, but it's like, can I pick who I want to marry? No, you're going to pick, we're putting this on you, and you can try to get out of it later if you want. I don't know, I just don't, it doesn't...
Maybe we should wait. If Cooperative is going to look at it. Maybe we should wait until the cooperative is done looking at it. There's no rush, is there? Is there a deadline we're looking at?
Well, I'm sure the cooperative is looking for the towns to decide whether they will participate or not. You know, there's a critical mass that the cooperative needs, and that's the question that has come from the cooperative to the member towns.
But you're saying the cooperative really hasn't done an objective assessment. They like the guy that they're working with on the municipal side, and they thought the same guy would be good.
They've received the material, they've had a presentation, they know this company through the SEM, so they have confidence in it. By comparison, they know what this group offers as opposed to other groups in the past, so, I don't know what we would be looking for from the cooperative. They will serve as the lead agency, to allow this aggregation to take place at that particular level, multiple towns. You can certainly do it on your own, like Little Ferry, they're doing it on their own. So if you opt out of the Riverside Cooperative, you could theoretically do it on your own as long as you have enough households to satisfy a consultant.
Is it appropriate to ask Tom to offer the experience in Little Ferry?
Well, they're in the process now. They haven't started
Getting the
yet.
bids, energy bid.
They don't know how much they're going to save off the PSE&G rate yet.
But it would seem that if you can pick up 2 or 3 other PSE&G towns, it would make it a little bit more competitive than going alone.
All right, discussed it enough. What are we going to have a meeting in March or not? That's why it's on the agenda.
That's right.
I think if we do have a meeting, they should be asked to bring their entire communication plan, how they communicate out to the residents, because a lot of what we've talked about here is the information they're getting, how they communicate, how they inform the public of the change, and I would like to see with their communication plan.
Let's have another meeting.
I'm all for a meeting.
Okay, let's put it on in March. We can put it on our bulletin board, we can put it in the patch, put it on our website. And I was speaking to Alan about possibly sending out a community nixle, so that we get a lot of coverage.
What date, what meeting date? March 3rd, March 17th? Those are the 2 meeting dates that we have.
Well, March 17th is a special day.
Do it March 3rd.
Okay.
That's when our assembly people are coming in.
Yeah, and my concern is if we start doing nixle mayor, how many people are going to have, we're going to have to move to the junior high. If we had advertisement, I thought this was just kind of like, Alan, you said it was just going to be a sampling?
No, when we talked about it, I said, yes, we might be at the junior high for this.
I think you're going to have that many people who
Take your
If
blood pressure medication.
75, you will be at the junior high.
Well, is that a big deal?
Well, you have to make arrangements with the junior high to use their building.
Recording,
Recording is the real disaster.
It's an effort.
It's the effort.
How many people showed up?
40 people showed up at our meeting.
40 people showed up in Little Ferry.
And that's
Did you
with
do
the
a nixle?
townwide- That's with the town.
No, that was just their publication, their mail. We did not do this extra meeting that you were doing.
Well, let's see what happens. Let's say for March 3rd.
Okay.
Okay, thank
All
you,
right,
Mayor.
number 3, open space allocation. We have $143,000 approximately.
163,000 in requests and other items.
And 163,000 in requests. And that's without putting in anything for, does that include the 26,000 for Cherry Blossom Park?
Yes.
Okay. it doesn't include anything for KGB lighting.
Yes, it does. I included $36,363.
36,000.
Mayor, I can read my list again if everybody would like that.
I took some notes. Shade Tree was 13,645. Rec wanted 59,283. 9/11 wanted 7,000.
Correct?
DPW wanted 9,500.
Correct.
Beautification wanted 3,000.
Yes.
We didn't get any requests from historic, right?
Right.
Okay.
We also have the lighting at $36,363. Cherry Blossom Park, $26,000. And the fence question at 140 Kindercamac, $8,600.
I make a motion, we don't do the fence at 140.
I second that.
Me too. Me three.
All right, if worse comes to worse and we get a lot of complaints, John Lynch said he could put up some, he could reinforce the existing broken down fence with some,
Well, I think if we get a lot of complaints, we just write it out.
All right, so there's a motion not to go for the fence.
yeah, I'm saying,
Yeah.
As an alternative, we can have the existing fence supported.
Right, propped up.
Yeah, propped up.
So there's a second for that?
Yep. Top of that.
All right,
But it should probably come down. I don't know if we're going to leave it up.
I think it should come
I think
down.
it should come down. And then if they come and complain, then we'll entertain it next year.
So removal as well.
Maybe.
all right, bad decision.
We have $5.3 million. We got to start somewhere.
When the homeowner's here yelling and screaming, I'm just going to say, told you so.
Well, how much can he prop it up, really, you know?
No, let's deal with this motion, because my next motion's going to be to tell John to tear that fence down, period. Why don't we just deal with this motion? Motion is to remove it from,
Tear down this wall.
From open space and capital.
from open space and capital.
His motion, second, Councilor Caballero. We have a...
The motion is to remove the funding for new fence, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
From open space and from
And from
capital.
capital.
All right, we have a motion.
In a second.
Oh, okay, there's a second. Any further discussion? Let's have a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilor DePolo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon?
Yes.
Councilman Young?
Yes.
Councilman Paqueta?
Yes.
And Councilman Caballero?
Yes.
Let it ride.
I make a motion that we direct our DPW superintendent to remove the ailing fence that is currently there.
Let's get into, let's do that under new business.
Okay, that sounds
Because
fine.
right now, we're in open space allocation.
Mayor,
Kathleen.
there's two items that I think, I'm hoping we can all agree upon for the allocation. I would make a motion to accept the $9,500 from DPW and $3,000 from beautification, and then discuss the rest.
All right.
I'm sorry, can you just give us the overall numbers again? You said we're starting with what?
Shade Tree Commission.
No, the overall number.
1.3.
$163,391 total. Without the fence, we're now down to $154,791.
In requests?
Right. Yes, total requests.
What was our allocations?
All right, and
It's $143,000.
Councilwoman Murphy wanted to speak first to the DPW $9,500 request.
I think that's reasonable, and it's the least amount they've requested ever. So
All right,
I make a motion to accept that.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on that request for the DPW? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that was one thing good. And then your next one with
The beautification
beautification?
request at 3,000, I think
3,000.
that's a reasonable request, and I make a motion to allocate 3,000 to beautification.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the beautification? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? Okay, that's 2 down.
And
Okay, anyone have another one? 9/11 Shade Tree Rec? Kathleen?
just looking at it, 9/11 wanted 7, I thought 5 might be reasonable. Shade Tree wanted 13,645, and I thought 10 would be reasonable, and then we can discuss the rest.
I'd like to offer an alternative way of looking at this. If we put the lighting in capital, then we drop 36,000 from 54, and I think we get to a point where we're not over. Alan, how much do we have again?
163, 391.
No.
Oh, 154, 793.
143,426.
143,426, and right now we're at 154,791. So if we simply, lighting really is a capital improvement.
Tom,
Mayor, I'm just offering an idea.
I know, but the councilwoman made a motion on a particular
And it wasn't
account.
seconded, Mayor, and what I'm saying is, instead of arbitrarily shaving from 9/11 or any other request, if we agree, or if we consider putting lighting in capital instead of taking it out of open space, then we don't need to shave from 9/11. That's what I'm suggesting.
But then we're presuming we're funding the lighting under capital. And-
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah,
I
I think we should take this line by line, the way it was presented to us. Which one do you want to do?
I would like 9/11. I think they asked for 7, 5 seems good.
All right, so that's your motion, 5
Yes.
for 9/11.
Yes.
Why? What's the rationale?
Let's see if we have a second, then we can discuss it.
Second.
We have a second. Now we can discuss it. Your question was?
Why?
Okay.
Why is 5,000 good and not 4,500 or 3,500 or 5,500? Why is 5,000?
Because everything's a compromise, and we have to spread this
But
out over
compromise
these...
based on any objective
They
criteria?
did not come in with a line budget, so this is just...
The request wasn't itemized,
I agree.
so they were...
He did have some priorities, but didn't he not?
They requested 7, and the councilwoman suggested 5, which there's a second, and it sounds reasonable, because it wasn't itemized. That's the justification. Let's have a roll call for the 5,000 for 9/11.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastidas?
Yes.
Councilman Knoll?
No.
Councilman Racafreda?
Can I say something before I...
Sure. You can explain your vote.
Yes, because I see a lot of the function of the 9/11 committee being done by the beautification committee. There were a lot of items that he mentioned in his presentation. I kept saying to myself, oh, that's beautification, that's beautification.
They actually don't, beautification doesn't do anything in the 9/11 area.
I understand, but maybe they should, because 9/11, we're giving money for maintaining the memorial to 9/11 and to make it nice looking. Well, isn't that what beautification does? So, while I don't want to even come up with the idea of maybe we should trust beautification with keeping up the 9/11 memorial, we'll leave that one alone. But certainly we have to recognize that there is a lot of duplication here in this instance. So I'm going to vote for the $5,000, as arbitrary as that number seems.
Councilman Capola?
Because the number is arbitrary, I'm voting no.
Okay.
Okay.
42.
C'est la vie.
Next is Shade Tree. And then we have the big one, which is Rec.
So Shade Tree, I believe, they have been funded
The request
quite
is
well.
$13,645.
So I'm saying 10,000, my recommendation. They're anticipating a $20,000 grant. They did get the funding.
They got a big bond, over $100,000 bond that they spent for trees from the storms.
So I think this is reasonable.
All right, is there a second for $10,000 for shade tree? Question.
Everything, you know what, it's all crapshoot.
Alan, can you give us where we stand now? What we cut so far and what?
Well, if you, with or without,
Well, we just did 9/11 and then
and with shade tree,
With shade-
149, 146,
Is that with the shade tree at $13,645?
going down to 10, yes.
Going down to 10.
So it'll be a 149?
3,645, so 149.
And we have to get to 143?
Trying to get to, what was it? 143, 426, another $5,720.
Well, we make it 8 instead of 10.
We'll be able to
Well, this goes back, this was my problem with Al last year. And this is when Al came up with the way he did open space. He said, well, we could cut this and this and this and this. And I said, well, based on what? Where is it coming from? What's the justification behind reducing it? And none was offered. And last year, I went along with it, but this year I'm not inclined to do it. My question, as soon as, if there's a second, which I believe there is, and we're open to debate, is, again, since Kathleen, since you're proposing this, I don't mean to pick on you, but you were the one who moved this, why 10? Why not 9.5? Why not 8.5?
I think every number
why not 1,000?
I think everything that comes in is an arbitrary guesstimate to the best of what people think. Do they know they're going to need, 10 trees are going to get knocked down, 5 trees?
I don't agree with that, actually. I don't agree with that with shade tree. I think they gave us an itemized. So what in their itemized list did you think, where is that 3,645?
It's just a compromise, Tom. It's just a compromise.
Yeah, but it's so capricious. That's what I'm suggesting.
And just to Councilman Murphy's point, so if we look at their itemized list, and so I say, yeah, this one line in here, I don't think that should be funded like that, you can still make that argument. Well, Anthony, you're still arbitrarily saying,
No,
why?
I think every line can be brought down a little.
I think that's a decision based in some fact. You're looking at an item and you're saying, listen, we don't want to fund that particular item within it that much. That's at least not, oh, we'll just reduce it to 10 because 10 is an even number.
What number are you proposing after you reviewed it?
I'm proposing, as I've already said, if you had been listening, that we move the lighting to capital, and therefore we don't need to reduce capriciously. That's what I'm suggesting. But the council doesn't want to do that, and I get that. But if we are going to reduce it, we're just saying, okay, well, why 10?
Well, I'm looking at the shade tree request, and the first item is 30 tree replacements at $350, which comes at the $10,050. So basically, the request is to give them all of the trees that they have requested. I mean, there are a couple of things that are, they want a couple of plaques, which, you don't have to give them this year. You can give them the plaques next year. You can give them the...
See, I could live with that. If we're reducing it because we're saying, listen, not this many trees, I can live with that. I find that to be acceptable. But I find, just arbitrarily saying 10,000 without any justification from this body of why we're reducing it, I found it capricious last year, I find it capricious this year. And it's not that it's not partisan, it's not political, because I had this problem with Al, and I said it very clearly last time, and I was on the record of saying it, and I have this problem now. I think that if all we're going to do is say reduce it this much, without saying, okay, everybody, let's have a copy, let's take a look at this, this is what I think we should reduce, then I find that to be capricious. That's it's not personal, it is procedural. I don't believe that this is a good procedure. That's what I'm objecting to.
I agree with you, because on a similar note, we're automatically assuming that rec deserves half of this budget every year. And now we're disproportionately cutting these smaller groups to accommodate their larger request.
Well,
So
we haven't even
it's
gotten
all-
there yet. We haven't even
But they're the
gotten-
only ones left after we've done these two, and then, so they're going to get the bulk of what's left, and they're not going to get a proportionate cut. We just cut a third from Shade Tree of their request. We're not going to cut a third off of...
Yeah.
So I said, so it's all arbitrary in one way or the other. To me, it's like...
I don't think so. I think you're defining arbitrary, well, I'm defining arbitrary differently. I think if you look at what they're asking for and you say, listen, they're looking for 30 trees, this is a tough budget, you know, we gave them 100,000, as Sandy said. If that's the justification, I agree with Kathleen then, but I don't see how it just drops to 10,000. We should be reducing it by the number of trees or by the items that we think, because that's the purpose of an elected official, to make decisions. What we think we can afford this year. And again, it's not Kathleen and it wasn't Al last year. It's procedural. I don't like this procedure. I don't like for us as a body simply to say, okay, 3,645 off the top, without offering a legitimate or at least somewhat understandable justification. That's what I objected to last year with Al. This is what I'm objecting to now with Kathleen. It's not that I have a problem with Al. It's not that I have a problem with Kathleen. I have a problem with the procedure.
All right, there's a motion and a second for shade tree allocation of $10,000. What?
Ellen made the
Ellen
second.
had the second.
Can we compromise and just give them the money for the tree replacement?
That's $10,050.
Whatever that amount is.
I would find that acceptable then.
The
10,050, and we said that's what we're
The
doing.
$330
It would have to be the person who moved the,
I would say $10,050 would be a good amount.
do we have a second on the new motion? $10,050?
I second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Patullo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rashid?
Yes.
Councilman Minogue?
No.
Councilman Aquafetta?
Yes.
And Councilman Chaparral?
Yes.
And then we have the last item, which is the Rec Commission. Their request was $59,283, and that did not include their request for KGB lighting. So maybe we can ask Alan to do the math and see what would be left if we...
You need $5,770 to get to the estimated tax amount for open space.
Okay. So $5,000 off.
$5,770. Can we find a place to take that from?
Well, the only place left that we haven't tinkered with is Rec, right?
Well, Cherry Blossom Lighting and Rec.
Well, Cherry Blossom, we already,
That was included in there.
that was included in, when we made the open space application. We were going to put $26,000 in open space and $26,000 in capital to reach the 52 that we believe we're getting from the county open space.
Alan, this $59,283 that they've requested, does that include the $36,000 they're suggesting from open space? Right, I just want to make sure I understand that number that's in there.
The $59,000 is the $7,816 up the top. It's the
Yep.
$13,871.
Yep.
And it's the $7,514, the $16,570, the $4,012, and the $9,500. So it does not include anything for the lighting.
But it included this $26,000, right?
No, it does not.
No?
No. But I have it as a separate item. Item 26 is a separate item, not on the rec.
Okay.
There's the 37,000, there's this, and 59 is the
Okay. Maybe you could do one horseshoe pit this year. We're not having any horseshoe pits. Well, it's $16,570 to remove the horseshoe pits. Well, something has to be cut from the rec budget.
What about the sprinkler system?
No, they
No,
don't need
I
that.
think that's important.
It's very important.
Well,
Them decide.
how are we going to have a sprinkler system when they haven't decided what the final plan is, when they remove the, if they do something active there, like they put a volleyball or
No.
a bocce,
I'm gonna have it.
why would you have a sprinkler, why would you need a sprinkler
Because
system?
the sprinkler system's going to cover more than that one area. If I understood it correctly, it's going to be covering quite a substantial area, and then you would be...
No, just the garden, just that garden area. It's only what they want it for, not a substantial area.
It's only manpower problem.
I walk through there all the time, and I'll tell you, it's really terrible. There's nothing being watered, and that is the most used park, and all their plantings have died over the years. And I have to walk through all the time, and say, this is extending, this is happening, why bother planting this? You can't even keep it looking nice. And
It's
the
so
most used park.
it's so heavily treed and shaded.
No water in there.
Well, that's actually why you do want to put in a sprinkler system, because if it's heavily shaded, it becomes a desert, because the water is not...
We just have a difference of opinion, because I think
How do they
it should-
water the
it should
rest
be
of it
active
without a
recreation.
sprinkler, the rest of the
Well, I
park?
agree with you there. I'm just simply saying that it needs a sprinkler system, because there's really no water making it through the canopy.
Alan, could you tell us the breakdown again of those things? I don't have my paper in front of me.
But we don't have the
Direct.
authority to decide what they're going to do. We only have the authority to decide how much we're going to give them.
Right.
So break it down again?
So if we cut $400 from the rec budget, then we come to the total allocation. 5,770. 5,770.
So we gotta cut 5,770?
So is there a motion to reduce the
Right, yeah,
rec budget by 5,770?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Anyone?
No, no, don't.
Okay.
Just do it.
Just do it. Everyone's doing it.
Yeah, we're almost there, we're almost finished.
It's almost the total amount they were asking for.
Anybody have anything to say?
We discussed already.
Yeah, I mean, 5,770 and then...
These are just based upon estimates.
This is
They
the-
haven't gone out for the 3 quotes yet. The, you
This is the
know,
original, that's all. It's close.
we're giving them
Estimates of
90
10 to
plus
15%.
% of their requests, of their requested budget.
I'm assuming it does. Oh, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
All right, does anybody, if no one's going to second that motion, then someone has to make a different motion.
Mayor,
I'll
second that motion.
Okay. To reduce the line item from the rec request by $5,770.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we know for the cherry blossom, it'll be 52,000? I mean, is that amount reliable, or?
That's what we received the email from Robert Abitamarco, who said that they didn't have to hold a public hearing because our request was approved in its entirety. So,
Thank you.
it hasn't gone to the freeholders yet.
Okay.
Roll call, Mayor?
Roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Cola?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lucy?
Yes.
Councilman McMillan?
No.
Councilman Akrafeta?
Yes.
And Councilman Papalayo?
No.
Okay, we're done, Mayor. We're done. Resolutions on the next meeting. All right, number 4, application to replace the senior bus we sold at auction. I found a program that New Jersey Transit has called the 5310 program, that our application has to be in by March 14th. If we receive the application to purchase if we are awarded the grant to purchase a bus, it requires only a 20% match by the applicant. So I would like us to apply for a second senior bus the one we have is not going to last forever, and it would be good to have, would be good to put the new one into service and to use the existing one as a backup, or we could repurpose it. There was some discussion about repurposing it for other uses, OEM or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember what they were exactly. But this is an opportunity to go out for a grant application that I think would be worthwhile. So I'll open it up for discussion. Kathleen?
Is this the first time they're making this available? Is this brand new,
No,
this whole thing?
it's every year. We've just never taken advantage of it.
Why?
Just never taken advantage of it.
Mayor, I thought there was a program for a commuter bus that was offered every year. This is the first time I've seen something for senior, directed at the seniors, but I may be wrong. But I know that
Do you
there
do
was
this?
a program for commuter buses.
You don't need to.
We haven't got one. I don't recall.
Every
No.
seniors.
We don't.
Can anyone comment on the usage of our existing senior bus? Can anybody comment on how frequently that's used? Is there additional demand?
Denise can provide
I can
some
do a little bit.
information.
Twice a week they have the grocery shopping, and the other two are doctor's appointments.
And is it fully utilized?
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it is not. I tried to start something with going shopping at the malls, because I thought it was a great idea. We didn't get any takers. I think we got one person, and I was surprised, because I thought they'd be excited about that.
Yeah.
Right.
But they
What about
weren't.
Atlantic City?
You can't go that far.
Yeah, that would be,
And you couldn't do it with John, that's not what it's for.
yeah, it's local.
There's times where it is very, very busy. But I have to say, we have a list of maybe 20, I guess, constant people that every week want to go grocery shopping, has various...
The number has
doctor's appointments.
declined since we started it
Yeah.
many years ago. It's in decline.
A lot of our seniors, believe it or not, Councilwoman, drive.
Yeah, I was going to say, I noticed that too.
Do-
Internet shopping too, food gets delivered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true, ShopRite.
They don't go to Peapod.
But they can call ShopRite.
No, I'm saying ShopRite's movies too.
No, they
Yeah.
can't order food. Do we have we did have a secondary bus bus driver. What happens when John's gone?
We have a problem.
There's nobody.
I mean,
Mayor, you said the funding, I'm sorry, was it partial or something like that?
80%.
80%.
We pay 80%. And there's a 18 to 24-month waiting period after you get your award letter for delivery of the bus. So,
Mayor, I think it's a match, if it's provided by transit, they said, so we should assume it's almost 100% funded. They said there may be a 20% match, because it says the match is provided by transit, if you read the asterisk.
oh,
So,
okay.
What are the
it's kind of,
I'm sorry.
for vehicles, it says 20% match required, provided by transit. Then there's a little asterisk saying that depends on funds, and then you should be prepared to provide the match if you have to. But, I mean, we're talking 2 years out anyway, so...
Right.
It's...
I'm assuming these buses run what, like 50G or something? Like can't be like a car. It's got to be.
It's more than 50, I think. I think we had a price 70 or something like that.
I don't know what type of bus they're talking about.
We don't know, yeah.
We have a
The Ferrari, yeah.
16-passenger, which runs with the council.
I agree, if it doesn't cost anything to apply, and it's 2 years out, we don't have to put money in the budget this year to match it, so
Sure.
it's no-brainer. Yeah.
I just had one other question. It says here, you must be an active participant in the county transportation coordination planning process. So, CHSTP, are we that?
Yes, and the only reason I know, because I looked it up, and apparently there were some meetings held in 2004, and we were, actually it was former Councilwoman Fletcher was signed on as a Riverhead representative at the meeting, so there's evidence, written evidence, that we were actually as part of that planning process. Now, whether it looks like they've done anything since 2004, I don't think so, but it doesn't say, I mean, we can't control whether the county updates this plan or whatever, so I think we're the original participant in the plan, so I think we meet that criteria, at least from my little bit of looking I did today.
All right, so do I have a motion to make the application
So
by
moved.
March 14th?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, advertise and hire a part-time grant writer. This is Alan.
We did send out proposals to 5 grant consultants, and we got 2 back. And both are in the $30,000 range.
These are companies, or?
Yes, one is Millennium Strategies, and the other one is Bruno Associates. I was going to, have it discussed as part of the budget process.
And that's, what do you get for $30,000?
Kind of Bruno.
I'll have to, I'll make sure the mayor and council receive their information, if you haven't seen it, so.
We've used Millennium before, though, right, Alan?
Yes, we did use Millennium for 1 year.
Can't Marlene do this application for us?
She doesn't want to.
I wish we could get a part-time grant writer, pay them $25,000 a year to do what we ask them to do, win, lose, or draw. Just let's start submitting some grant applications. It seems like, we hired a grant consultant who made an application, a couple of applications, and they're still in the hopper, and we haven't received anything.
Does anybody know, like, I'm sure there's some study, like if you have a grant writer, X amount of percentage greater that you're going to get money, or versus not having a grant writer, like what's the odds fold increase if you have one?
If you have an experienced grant writer who knows how grants are scored, then you have a better opportunity to be awarded the grant than if you just get someone to fill out the forms.
Again, trying to get a cost-benefit analysis, so, right, I agree, right, you're going to have a better opportunity, but by how much? Is it worth the money?
Mayor, the only problem that I see with this is that the budget is in a position right now, I haven't had the opportunity to present the position of the budget with regard to the caps, to get a legal budget, and if this is something that is a priority of the council and you're going to include it in there, then I need to know where to cut in other areas. So, I would hope that you would wait until you see the entire budget, and we can either fit it in or we can't fit it in. But I think it has to fall within the entire scope of the budget this year.
Well, the reason why I put it on the agenda is because we're in the middle of the budget process, and I don't want this item to be left out. We have to include something in our budget for a grants person, because the grants person that we currently had last year, who worked on a contingency program and didn't receive any awarded grants, is hesitant to do any additional work for us. So we have to find a different avenue. Alan?
I have, at this point, included in your budget estimates the $30,000 for a grant consultant.
I think that's a lot of money to spend on something.
You'll have to look at it to see whether, we can maintain that.
When with the budget position we're in, to spend $30,000 on a grant consultant, to me seems...
And his stuff is still in the hopper. He's not exactly knocking around the park.
If you could find someone who does contingencies, I still think we're better off doing it that way instead of dedicating $30,000 of operating funds to somebody who may not get us one dime worth of...
I'd love to find somebody that did it on contingency. I'd love to.
Because, I've been
to
other
all
towns where they've used
suggestions.
these other companies, and they haven't had any more success than we've had with our contingency people, so...
Let me ask you a question. We would be getting a grant writer because of their expertise on filling out the form and making the right phone calls. But do we have staffing to just fill out the forms ourselves? At least put them in. Or is it that we don't have staffing to even fill out the forms, Alan?
It's not that easy of a process. You have to fill out the forms, but then you have to get estimates, you have to work with your engineer, you have to get cooperation from your...
That's the problem.
From your CFO.
This is what I'm trying to understand. I'm not trying to do it. I'm trying to get
letters of endorsement from your senator or your assembly people to include in the application.
Do any municipalities do it in-house?
Little Ferry does.
I'm on the hot seat all the time.
We do it in-house. We have a borough administrator that ran a HUD program, so he knows the ins and outs of the grant process because he comes from a HUD program. So he knows how grants are scored. This was his first BA job, so again, running a HUD, he's very familiar with it. And part of it, when we hired him, was to aggressively go after grants with him. We did, and again, I try and stay out of it because it's policy, but if you ask, I'll be happy to always give my opinion. Outside of the legal thing, we did use a couple others. We used Marlene Casey for a while. We actually used her a year on a contingency basis. A lot of grant writers are getting away from the contingency based on the legalities of it. It's a gray area as to whether they can actually bill on a contingency basis anymore. So a lot of them are getting away from that. A lot of these grants also, they want to do them all. They want to do open space, they want to do community development, which you're pretty much guaranteed to get, and you're giving them a percentage. So, you want to, they want those because they know they're assured 100% they're going to get something back, whereas if they're going to spend a lot of time on the ones they may or may not get, they'll take their risk on it, but they know they got certain ones definitely coming in. So when you get a grant writing consultant on a contingency, they're going to want to do them all, knowing that you're going to, now lose 10 or 15% on the ones you get every time, and it's a simple, two-piece of paper application. But there's other grants out there that, yes, it's a lot of time, a lot of effort. You really need somebody that knows the ins and outs of it. But so certain towns do them in-house, and others that I see, they use a grant consultant. But
so how's that working for Little Ferry?
We're lucky. Our borough administrator comes from a background of doing grants, so our prior borough administrator, we used Marlene Casey because we didn't have, he didn't have the time and the wherewithal to do it because it is a lot. We're going through a couple grants right now that we're waiting to hear from, and the amount of time and the amount of documentation that was needed, thousands of pages that we had to submit. I mean, they're very big grants, but thousands of pages. Probably spent countless hours on
So we also have to essentially interview if we were going to get somebody. You can't just, it has to be a process to get the best guy you can. It takes money to make money. If we have the money, fine. If we don't have it,
it also depends what you're looking for. If you have specific goals in mind, in other words, you want grants for transportation, land, streetscape, some type of transit HUD, there are certain grants consultants that have people on their staff that come from New Jersey Transit and have a specialty in that area. There's other grants that, I don't want to say specialized, but if you see where they're, the list of grants that they get for towns, you kind of could see a pattern of what they're getting from the different agencies, and that's what you have to kind of focus on. I think you have to set what your priorities are, and then say, okay, we really want to focus on grants for this, and then you could kind of narrow it down. And again, if you ask my opinion, I agree too. I think 30 grand is, we can't do it because we can't afford it.
Yeah.
So we stay away from it.
Yeah. I think it's nail on the head. If we can't afford it, we don't do it.
If you do it in-house, you can.
I understand, thank you.
All right. What else was on the agenda? Old and new.
We already approved it
We already did the...
at the regular meeting, didn't we? Yeah.
Okay, one item on the consent agenda. Can I have a motion, please?
We already approved it at the regular meeting already.
We did it already?
Yeah.
Okay. Any unfinished business?
Mayor, would this be the fence, since it was brought up prior?
That's, to remove the fence would be...
New business?
Yeah, unfinished. It doesn't matter, as long as you could bring it up now. Unfinished.
Okay. I would make a motion that we direct our superintendent of DPW to remove the fence that is currently in poor shape and falling down.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Are you making that motion because of it's in disrepair, or because we don't plan to replace it?
Both.
Okay.
I think that the fence is falling down, pieces of it are already missing. We're not going to replace it. Leaving it up only adds a liability to us, especially if it falls on somebody. So we are now aware that the fence is sagging and falling down. I would suggest that we'd be irresponsible not to do something, or at least that's the way I perceive it.
Should we notify the property owner that we're removing the fence?
No.
Sounds kind of punitive to me.
It's not punitive. The fence is falling down. How is it punitive?
Because
We're
it's
not
been there
doing
for
it at a
20 years.
spite. But we've been informed by our superintendent, DPW, that it's in poor shape and it's falling down.
I know, and the DPW superintendent said if we wanted him to, he would prop it up with some U-channels.
But there are also portions of it that are already down and missing.
Yeah, you prop them up.
No, I believe there are sections already gone.
I don't know.
I thought that...
I thought they were just falling over.
And let John make that assessment, if it can be...
I have to give them direction.
Band-aided.
Either remove it or prop it back up.
And we don't owe them the fence, that's just doing a courtesy. Yeah.
Well, I think when I wasn't here back 20 years ago, but I have been informed that when the property was designated a park, the agreement the borough made with the homeowner is that we would buffer that area so that vagrants and people that were in the park couldn't walk into their backyard. And that was the reason why that the borough put up the fence.
But we also did a lot of planting, which is now matured and is providing a natural barrier.
And he also has a
Times are
park
changing.
there rather than a gas station, which it could have been also.
And if the nefarious person wants to come through,
A vagrant.
yeah,
Or a hobo.
right.
Is that still zoned?
They're
or-
coming through.
How is that zoned?
Unless you got Bob
Still
wire.
zoned commercial?
That brought the fence down.
Put asphalt.
That portion of the zoning about a buffer area,
Well,
that
that's what I don't know whether that would apply.
Yiddish thing.
That's what I would have to
Yeah, well,
clarify.
we got chutzpah in the municipality.
Well, we're exempt from zoning, but the spirit of the law.
All right, so there is was your motion to remove the fence?
Yes, that was my motion.
That was the motion, and
Second.
then there was a second, and we had some discussion. Is there any further discussion? Is there a discussion about notifying the property owner?
Because when it doesn't go back up, they're going to come, I'm sure, and ask us why it's not going up.
Watch the tape.
If they get it.
All right, let's have a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Coppola.
Yes.
Councilwoman Litzy. Yes. Councilman Bidon.
Yes.
Councilman Eckert-Feder.
Yes.
And Councilman Caparella.
Can I ask?
Yes.
A second. Would it be customary that you would send a letter, Alan, to them, or no, in this kind of situation? Just saying that...
Yeah, if it wasn't immediate, an
That would,
immediate threat to
because, we-
health, safety, and welfare, that we had to go, if there was a tree that we had to go in and take down right away, so we'd go in there and take it
Would it
down right
be
away.
common practice for us to send a letter saying the fence is in disrepair, but given to our budget constraint, it's not being replaced? Would we do something like that?
Yeah, I would say yes, we try and communicate.
Then let's do
Then we'll
that.
do that.
Okay, I make a motion that do we need a motion for that, Alan?
No, you could just ask
You tell
Alan
them what
to
the letter is.
send a
It's
letter.
being replaced at this time.
At this time, yes, at this time, under this current budget.
All right, that was unfinished. Any other unfinished business?
Yes, Mayor?
Alan?
I just want to report on Grove Street, commercial parking. Mr. Grasso here. The superintendent and I made a field visit, and I directed him to move the stones a little bit south so that we can pick up a little bit more macadam for the parking area. I directed him to take a look at the easement area to see whether any landscaping might be needed there with the brush or whatever to ensure that no cars, run into that. And then we look at the fencing off of the stairway, and he's going to go out and get a quotation to do that fencing off both at the top and the bottom. So you may want to touch base with him to see, when he gets the proposal back, what that fence would look like, so that you have an understanding of what he's fencing off to secure that stairway area. And then finally, I included some money in the capital budget. The next time we go in to look at capital budget, there's money now, I think about $3,000, since I don't have the estimate yet, to for the fencing in the capital budget. So, the only thing is with the fence, you may have to wait until the ground softens up so they can get a post into the ground. But you're welcome to talk to him about what that fence is going to look like, and how it's going to secure the fencing, the steps.
Okay.
All
Mr.
right.
Haas is still going forward with the survey to see if the steps were, you guys, you didn't...
He posted lath and ribbon. You can kind of, eyeball whether the stairs will be in the easement, which we'll have some responsibility for, so it doesn't look like that would be the case. Okay. All right, any other new business? Any new business? Can I have, no, we already opened and closed to the public. Already did closed session. Time to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Ed, is your kid doing that Star